This is exciting. We're going to talk relationships.
So we all want to do, right? Accelerate our careers?
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Got a couple minutes after the hour on my clock. Malinda, are you okay if we get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, awesome. Well, hi, everybody. I'm Michelle Levitt. I'm your friendly moderator today, so I'll be helping support the session and run some stuff in the background while Malinda is doing her great thing. So let me introduce you to Malinda Kohler. She is co-founder and CEO of LessonsUp, and she has got some great wisdom to share with you all today. If you scroll down below the video, you'll find links to the workbook and the other documents that she's going to share with us if you want to have those alongside. You'll also be able to access those at any time after the session. So with that, Malinda, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, fantastic. Well, it's great to see everyone, and today's session will be very interactive. So we're going to talk about relationship building, specifically 3 relationship building strategies that will help us advance our careers. This is interactive, so drop questions along the way. We'll also be bringing people on stage so we can kind of workshop some of the material together. So we're diving into relationship building. And why am I talking to you about this? Well, I discovered early on that I could have a lot more fun and build all the things that I want to build if I have good relationships in place. So this started when I was growing up. I knew that to keep mom happy, my room had to be clean and I had to have good grades. Then I'd get to build all the things and do all the fun stuff. But that is very true in my career, and it's true for all of us. So I don't have any hard technical skills. And in fact, I was a teacher, did not think that I was going to pivot into tech at all. But it was my natural joy for building relationships that brought me here. So at the outset of the iPad, I visited a friend at a startup. And I just went around and I met all the designers and engineers, the CEO, asked a lot of questions, showed a lot of enthusiasm. And I was randomly invited to interview the next day to lead the production of products, interactive comic books on the newly released iPad at the time. Our software was being used by Disney and Fisher-Price. So I said yes and never turned back. There are 3 strategies that I think I followed that day and I followed throughout my career that really helped. And so right now, just to kind of demonstrate how important relationships are, I would love to hear from all of you how you got your current or most recent job. So we're going to quickly run a poll. Michelle, are you able to run that poll? Okay, great.
Y'all should see that poll now in the polls section on the sidebar.
Yeah. And relationship building follows us throughout our career. We'll think about our career in terms of getting a job and then being successful at each stage. So we're just going to quickly see if most people in this room got their job through networking or referrals or through applying online. And we'll give it a moment for that to come through. And then we'll share some data on that and how it ties into relationship building and the 3 strategies that we're going to talk about today. Do we have those poll results yet, Michelle?
Yeah, they're coming in. So we've got about 40 folks who have voted, and 38% applied online, and 62% got their job through a networking or referral.
Oh my gosh. Okay, wow. Also, I see someone let me know that I am muted. Can everyone hear me? Michelle, can you hear me?
You sound good to me.
Okay, great. If you can't hear me, okay, great. Glad to hear it. Yeah, so as this poll just demonstrated, 62% got their job through networking, which is also relationship building. So from the beginning stages of career, landing that job, relationships are super important. And then they're also important to how successful we are in those jobs, right? And so we'll look at a few of the people in our community at LessonsUp because I kind of like to start with evidence for all of these things that we're going to talk about. So the 3 strategies we're going to talk about helped all of these people. Beth didn't have any product management experience when she joined our community. And she mastered the 3 strategies we're going to talk about, and in 10 weeks got her first product management job. Jim was already a product manager, She mastered the 3 strategies because she was seeing a lull in her job search. She'd been trying for over a year. Again, in 10 weeks, she became a senior product manager of artificial intelligence. And Reba was actually a director of product. And she said, hey, I want to do my job search correctly. I want to line up all of the opportunities, and I want to be able to choose the career path that is really best for me and conduct a stellar job search using these 3 tactics, right? So what are the 3 tactics? We're going to talk about these together today. The first is key results. As we build relationships, we need to be able to qualify ourselves. Letting people know that we're qualified to be interested in something, we're qualified to do a specific job, qualified to move something forward. We're also going to use these key results to form our elevator pitch. When we introduce ourselves, we have that 30 seconds to get people excited about us and excited about them, right? Because we're building a relationship. These key results are also going to help us negotiate. In fact, they're going to help us negotiate so well that we're going to make all of the things we ask for sound like offers. And I will point out as I'm going through this that because I'm so excited about key results and how powerful they are, I kind of pepper them throughout this presentation, starting by talking about 3 people in our community who use these strategies. And you'll see little snippets, just screenshots I've taken below, people in our community who have used these tactics of key results, elevator pitch, and negotiation to move their career forward. So you'll see the evidence along the way. Okay, so let's dive into key results. They inform our resume, our job search, our interviews. They also inform our raises, our promotions, negotiating salary, resources at work, all stages of career growth, right? So they're super, super important. We're going to talk about key results first because they also inform that elevator pitch and that negotiation piece, right? So I like to start with examples. A lot of people join our community and they think when they talk about their work that they're supposed to talk about the work that they did. The work that you did is sort of the minimum viable product of your job, right? You were hired to do a thing. Hopefully, in the case of Lisa, she was updating and maintaining line sheets for the company because she was actually their lead graphic designer. But that on a resume or in a conversation doesn't tell me anything. So Lisa joined our community, learned how to talk about her key results, and this that was on her resume became this. Lead graphic designer for line sheets, used to develop 200 fashion styles a year. And then you can kind of see what the use of those were if you read through the key result. There's a number behind it. We also kind of qualify her place in the organization, right? So we're no longer talking about busy work, we're talking about impact. It's probably familiar to a lot of us, but what is complicated is how to quantify that impact, right? Another one that came on our resume, P&L management, drive strategic operations based on budget, revenue, and service. Okay, this person who was a director did their job, but it doesn't tell me anything about the impact. So again, increased site net profit for all services by 36% in 2019 compared to 2018. It's just very tangible and concrete. Something that I understand an impact was made. There was a result to this work, right? You can look at the other example and I'll share this. And there are lots of examples out there of key results that we'll have a chance to review. So we won't go too much into it anymore. The best practices for these, again, kind of just saw them in the making, but it's quantify that impact. And the other thing is anything can be quantified, right? If you took a process that had 10 steps and now it has 8 steps, you just saved the company 20% of the time, right? So you're quantifying the impact. Make it memorable where you can. Include brand names, dollar amounts, numbers. And again, of course, avoid talking about busy work. So you're going to focus on outcomes, right? So how do we get to the bottom of what our key results were? There's 3 questions we can ask ourselves to help us get there. What did I own? Why did I do the work that I did? Or what was the impact of the work that I did? These results are so powerful that they can help you propel your career no matter where you are. we actually had a teacher join our program. She'd been a teacher for 10 years. She, in 10 weeks, pivoted into tech, into a niche customer success role. And she did it by crafting a networking blurb that included a key result. It was very tech and product focused. So you can see in Carla's blurb, in 3 months, with the help of my primary source analysis tool, 79% of my students were scoring a solid 2, up from 58% at the beginning of the school year. Doesn't really sound like she's a teacher. It almost sounds like she works in tech. She could even work in product, right? It's very, very impact driven, very results driven. So these are just some examples of those key results. And I want everyone to now think about an achievement, a key result they've achieved that might be the most important to you. Because your goal throughout your career for building relationships and negotiating and moving things forward is to figure out that high level, big thing that you have done that you can use to immediately qualify yourself and build a relationship with the person in front of you. So we're all thinking now in our minds back to what we worked on, what we've achieved that might be a key result. And I'm going to stop here and see if we have any questions. If anyone has something that they want to workshop, we'll have the opportunity to do that today. Let's see. Okay.
We've got one question in the chat about strategies, the different strategies that you use when you're a junior manager versus managing up.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a question in the Q&A about advancing your career and managing up being challenging.
Okay.
So a couple questions about what do you do to manage up instead of manage down, and how do you tackle leaders?
Okay, that is something we're absolutely going to get into. The key to managing up is especially about building relationships. And you need the person that you're reporting to know that you're on top of all of the things that they care about, you're aware of, and you're moving those things forward. Once that's in place, then you can start to build a relationship to advance whatever it is that you want to. Sometimes managing up means getting buy-in to make certain processes or operations smoother for your team. Maybe you need access to resources. So I'd be very curious, Shambhavi, if there's something more specific in terms of managing up that you're trying to accomplish right now. So feel free to join us on stage if you want to workshop that, and we can kind of dig in for just a moment because it will help all of us start to think about how key results can help us manage up. Or you can just drop stuff in the chat.
If you want to join Malinda on stage, there's a little button, I believe, that says to ask to share your audio and video. And so just push that if you want to join Malinda live with your video and audio, and then we'll bring you up.
Okay, great. I love this because I think it's one thing to look at an example, but it's what we really want to do is kind of get to the real world of this here. So we'll see if Shambhavi is able to join us. We'll dig into more about managing up. And results are, of course, just one piece of this. There might be other things that we'll consider, right? But certainly knowing your key results and having 3 things to refer to that are constantly at the top of your head will really help you. Let's see. Can we hear Shambhavi yet? I see her joining.
Hey, Malinda and Michelle, do you hear me okay?
Yeah, good to meet you.
Good to meet you too. Thank you for the session. To answer your question, I guess, yeah, I think you hit it on the spot. So, I think what I'm specifically looking for at this stage is, as a product manager, how do you get the influence or buy-in for the product vision you're creating? More towards senior leadership, but also how do you build like effective personal relationships? I think one lesson that I've learned is when you're talking about, let's say, a particular business case, what a peer might care about is very different from what a senior leader might care about. So that's a tweak I'm trying to apply, but would love to hear more from you.
Yeah, and I'd be curious what conversations or research you've done to understand what senior leadership really does care about.
I think it's kind contextual depending on like if it's a business problem, let's say what I try to understand is how does that try to align overall with the company's goals? Because that's definitely one thing that's on the senior leadership mind. The other thing which I'm trying to learn is, through my one-on-ones, I try to pick up cues on what's on their mind currently, because if you can kind of build or contribute to that, I think that's valuable currency even as a junior member that you can bring to them. Those are a couple of things I'm trying. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it. If you can identify what's really important to people and what their motivations are, then you can start to think about the things you're trying to move forward in terms of almost like little case studies, right? You can lay out whatever the current product vision is right now and what moving it forward looks like, versus if we adopt this approach, here are the potential outcomes. And then you tie those potential outcomes to their motivations and what they really care about, right?
Right.
Um, but it is certainly an ongoing process, and having those conversations, asking those questions in your one-on-ones to really get an understanding of their vision and your vision, and maybe how these things might lead to slightly different outcomes, and how you can paint that picture is going to be really, really important. Yeah. Is there anything else, any other specifics that you would want to talk through with that, or give more light on?
Yeah, no, I think this is helpful. Maybe just the last question, without taking up too much time, is are there also like personal, relationship that you need to build, and what are some things that you do effectively? Because some of the senior leaders, they're not somebody who you engage with on a day-to-day basis, unlike, your manager or your manager's peers. So just curious if there are any strategies or advice for that as well.
Yeah, I always give people the chance to buy in to something, and I speak to their expertise first. So, Shambhavi, well, as the product manager of this specific thing, you have a lot of expertise in X, Y, and Z. Here are the outcomes that we want to achieve. What do you think of this vision? How do you think we can get other people behind this? So I always ask people in ways that can really get their buy-in, but really leaning into their expertise as well. This is a great question, and definitely feel free to follow up with me as we can dive in more.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, thanks for asking your question. Okay, so we're gonna keep moving forward. There's a lot around relationship building strategies, right? It's not just key results. But now that we've kind of gone through this practice of thinking about key results, think a little bit more in general about relationships, we're going to take it back to basics of that elevator pitch that I talked about. When we introduce ourselves, when we meet someone, when we're applying for jobs, when we're going to a networking event, how do we make an impression that qualifies us and quickly builds a relationship with the person in front of us? So there are three pieces, and you might all already have stellar elevator pitches, so this might just be a chance to kind of go back and revisit it. But you give that, the most important thing is the key result. You give that high level context first. I've been in tech, building products and scaling communities for the past 10 years. Most recently, I launched a community of 4,000 job searchers within 18 months. And I'm really excited to learn more about what you're looking next in your career so we can strategize how to move forward, right? So a little bit about my experience to qualify why I'm talking about this. Biggest thing is that key result, and then passing it back to you and showing interest. So that's why I asked all of you to start thinking about the key result that's most important for you. So we're going to take this elevator pitch idea and we're going to go and practice it. It's also a chance for all of us to say hi to each other and learn one big achievement from the people that we're going to go into breakout rooms with. So we're going to go into breakout rooms and we're going to do our elevator pitch. And in fact, let me see if I can drop those three ideas into the chat. Yeah. And we can all say hi. Whoops. Okay. Yeah, let's go ahead and open up breakout rooms. We'll be in groups of 4, so we're going to go for 5 minutes So you get a chance to just get there, figure out the dynamics of tech. But your elevator pitch should literally be 30 seconds, one key result. And then we'll kind of come back and debrief afterwards. So Michelle, I'll let you go ahead and open the breakout rooms.
Here we go. Karen, let me see if I can get you in a breakout room. Give me just a second. Folks, I apologize for this. For those of you who are stuck here in the main room, Hopin is supposed to automatically add you to breakouts, and it doesn't appear to be doing that. So let's do this on the fly. So right now, we're supposed to be working on our elevator pitches.
So I'm back because the first I wound up in a breakout room, and then I was there with Caroline, and her video and audio completely cut out. So let's go ahead and add a couple of people. Go ahead and join the stage, and we'll just do some elevator pitches, and we'll have some fun right here in the main room.
Awesome. All right.
Oh, that's the other thing too. Okay, I didn't consider yet people, because Caroline had video audio issues. Others might as well. Okay. I have to do it in chat. Sorry. Okay, no problem. Okay. Yeah, this is the fun of testing out a new technology platform. Sometimes it works smoothly. Sometimes we all wind up in breakout room space. But if anyone would like to join the stage, we can do a quick elevator pitch practice, or basically networking, just to say hi. Okay. Karen's joining us.
Can you all hear me?
Yes. Hi, Karen.
Hi. I don't know what's happening with my camera, but you can hear me okay?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm in the app. I'm not actually on a web page. So I'm in the actual app rather than just online. So
Got it.
forgive me if there's any issues. So I'm gonna go through this. Bear with me. With the elevator pitch. So my name is Karen. I've been a product manager in the nonprofit space, helping do strategic development for nonprofit organizations in city, county, municipalities for the last 7 years. Most recently, I have worked with a nonprofit to help expand community-based safety technology and infrastructure in the city and county of Los Angeles. And I'm excited to speak with you all to discover how I can leverage my previous experience to transition into a product management role in technology, in the tech space.
Oh, I love this elevator pitch. And I would have a follow-up question for you. You said you helped expand a program. Do you know what that expansion looked like?
Yes.
What did that expansion look like?
So the expansion looked like 15% more organizations in the county of Los Angeles delivering community-based intervention and prevention services. It also looked like an increase of $51 million invested in the field of intervention through the county of Los Angeles, and the expansion of grant opportunities for nonprofit organizations that we were partnered with.
Got it. That's amazing. And that's 3 key results. As a human, it's very hard for me to remember in 30 seconds to 1 minute a lot of information. So for me, I'm going to probably pick up on one thing. And as you continue to hone your elevator pitch, choose the one that you think is the most impactful. And you can break it down. And it's, hi, I'm Karen. I've been in product management at nonprofits for the last 7 years. Most recently, I helped expand a program to, increase community prevention. And I'm really excited too. So it's just that, but that is this is a stellar elevator pitch, and you made a huge impact, Karen. That's fantastic. I love it. And thanks for jumping in. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, I really appreciate the presentation. My elevator pitch, I need to work on it. I've actually been in a couple of spaces recently that are networking spaces, and I realized, I think it's been because everything is virtual in the pandemic, but it's been quite a long time since I've been in physical space networking with people. So having the opportunity to refine this skill set after so long is really great. Yeah. And also quickly, sorry, it actually just dawned on me with your program LessonsUp. Maybe at the end of your presentation, if you can talk about if people are interested in joining that, or what avenues or opportunities are there available to partner with your organization moving forward.
Yes, absolutely. I will make sure we touch on that. The 10-week process to land a job or to accelerate your career at every stage. Definitely. Okay, awesome, Karen. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so hopefully some of you got to say hi, introduce yourself, and just, get used to, again, using a key result to quickly qualify yourself and quickly let people know what value you really add to an organization, right? As we get really good at our own elevator pitch, we also get really good at listening to what other people say. And so we're going to talk next about negotiation and how these key results help us by sharing and qualifying and also reflecting back. So I'm going to quickly share my screen because this is just the simplest negotiation tactic ever. Okay. So we're going to negotiate by putting relationships first. So if I wanted something from Karen, instead of going out and asking Karen, I would want to use this negotiation tactic of, well, I'd come to her with a key question, and then I would listen to her, and then I would reflect back what she said, and then I would make my ask, right? So at this point, maybe my key question for Karen is, there's a program that I want to get off the ground in the nonprofit space. And now I've just listened to her already. And so if I want her feedback on this program, what I can do is just say, hey, Karen, I'm trying to get this new program off the ground, and it's in a nonprofit space. You're bringing a lot of experience in this area. I know you've actually been doing it for 7 years, and you recently expanded this program by 50% and brought millions of dollars to the community. You're exactly the kind of person that I would want advising on this. Hey, I'd love to send you a proposal and get your thoughts on it. So it's that versus giving someone work, right? hey, Karen, would you review this proposal? It's time critical. Can I get it back? That's not going to work very well. But if I go in and I qualify that person with their key results and reflect back to them why they're so great, and then I make an ask, no matter, at this point, this person is excited and they're bought in. And this helps at every phase. And it kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier, even with managing up, going to those leaders and, hey, I know you really care about this engineering team and this product because X, Y, and Z. I'd love to work with you on how to move things forward in this direction and get your thoughts on it, right? We're always reflecting back to people what's important to them and what makes them feel important. Okay, I'm going to stop because I just realized there are some questions popping up in the chat. Michelle, you want to take some questions?
Yeah, let's see. We've got a question from Sarah Harris. Sarah, do you want to come on stage and ask the question live? There you are. Let me get you up on stage.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hey, hi, thanks for having me. And thanks for this talk. It's really illuminating. I kind of like Karen, I'm actually in a position where I'm exploring pivoting not only verticals, but potentially pivoting into a different organizational space, like a nonprofit sector. My background's more in the industry, in the tech sector. And so my question is really about both remaining in industry and pivoting verticals, or pivoting from like a for-profit sector to a nonprofit sector or a government sector. Is any of the advice you've given so far, would there be kind of different shifts or perspectives to consider?
All you're doing is you're going and you're looking at where you want to go next, and then you're translating your skills and experiences and your achievements mostly to that profession, right? Or to that new job. So whatever you've been doing in nonprofits and you want to pivot to for-profit, treat it as the exact same thing. Don't even bring up that you're pivoting, right? It's just share that key result to qualify yourself. But what I actually do is I go in and I actually line up I don't think I have it on this sheet. I don't. Well, what I do is I go in and I take the bullet points from the job description. And the first three is most important. I go in and I figure out what key results or skill area do I have that most closely relates to this. And then I build my narrative around it that way. So then when I'm doing an elevator pitch to someone in that field, it's, oh, hi, Sarah. I know you've been working in nonprofits doing X, Y, and Z. I recently did X, Y, and Z, and I'm really curious to learn more about the role on the team. So you just take that key result and make sure you speak to it in the way that someone in that role would, and that's how it's done. We've seen like 100 career pivots doing that. Yeah, great question. And what I will say, just on the job search process, I can share my screen one more time. The actual full process to do a career pivot, of course, it starts with key results, but this is what it looks like. Plan on talking to 25 people. For all of those people that you talk to, your networking call, you're doing your elevator pitch. You're including a key result that will get that person excited. And then something about them that will get, and I'm excited to learn about your role. I see what you've been doing in at this company. So you're going to try to get those 25 networking calls. And then people say, how do I get those networking calls? Well, you post a networking blurb similar to the one that, similar to the one that Carla wrote. She posted a blurb like this in a bunch of Slack communities, Facebook groups, and wound up getting a referral to a startup called Scratchpad in San Francisco. But there are a lot of other tactics as well. You reach out to leaders, recruiters, employees, past colleagues. But in all of this outreach, you're always qualifying yourself with that short key result. So if I wanted to work on Michelle's team, I was like, hey, Michelle, I realize you're a product leader and I love the work you've been doing. I've been doing X, Y, Z, even if I wasn't in product, right? I've been working with customers and recently moved this thing forward. I'd love to learn more about your organization, but I've got to include that key result. So this is the process. You're talking about that key result in those networking calls. You're using it to convert those networking calls into referrals for opportunities. And then once you get to the interview process, at each stage, you're going through and you're saying, what's on the job description? How do my key results relate to it? And how do I tell a story around that key result? Specifically with job interviews, you're not trying to get to the point where you memorize all the interview questions that are out there. You're just trying to get to the point that any interview question you hear, you can answer with one of your key results that you've already thought through. Does that help?
Yeah, totally. I'm hearing myself in reverb a little bit, but I hadn't thought about the fact that I shouldn't point attention to the fact that I'm pivoting. So that too has really stood out to me.
No, yeah, you were going in the direction they're going. You were aligned. You've been doing the work. Maybe it was under a different title, different industry. We had someone who was a cost estimator in construction become customer success at a real estate startup. Someone who was a director, Jesse Moreno, was a director of retail operations at stores like Disney and Funko, and now he's a director of operations at Vault Health, a health tech startup. Okay, thank you so much, Sarah, and I'll make sure we open it up for other questions as well.
We've got a question from Anjini Shukla. Anjini, do you want to come up on stage and ask Melinda your question live? I also see one from Gracie Beal. If you'd like to come up on stage, can get a little queue going. I'll take this opportunity also to remind you all, speaking of key results, we'd love your feedback on the session. You can do that through the review button. It's the one with all the stars next to it over in the side panel.
Okay. No problem, Gracie. Was there a specific question that you?
Yeah, Gracie's question was, how can we think about continually building relationships while not actively looking for a new role?
Yes, definitely. You're always building relationships and reaching out to people. So if you know that you're in the industry that you want to be in, I would just say, make sure that you're attending events like this once a quarter, or you're doing outreach and kind of keeping an eye on other leaders that you might want to work for in the future. And maybe you're connecting with someone on their team, and maybe you're doing like a networking call once a month just to keep your pipeline and your relationship building skills really sharp. And then it's very different if you're thinking about building relationships at work, of course, right? We're constantly relationship building at work, and we're constantly making sure that we're looking for opportunities to talk about our manager in a good light, looking for opportunities to talk about other team members in a good light, and looking for little opportunities to throw out the things that we're working with. Like I say, if you run into the manager that your manager reports to in an elevator, and they say, "How are you doing?" Definitely say hi, hello, and be a person, but you also say, "Yeah, I'm having a really good time. In fact, I recently worked with so-and-so on, the customer team, and we wound up reducing churn rate by 5% this quarter. We had a great time, but make sure you have I always say, make sure you have your top 3 initiatives and how you moved them forward at the tip of your fingers, because you never know when you're going to get a conversation at work that will help you move those forward. And if you're only thinking about those things when it's time for performance review, then you're not setting yourself up for the most success. You actually want to track for yourself every month. Okay, maybe you didn't actually get your key result, but was there a milestone? Did you move forward with it? But by the end of the quarter, okay, what were the initiatives that I worked on? What did I move forward? What impact did I make? And what were the learnings? And if you just at the end of every month take a moment to think that through, great. And then the really big thing is to send that to your manager. Hey, it's the end of the month. I wanted to kind of talk through what I've been working on. Here are the 3 things that I moved forward. Here's what I'm prioritizing. Here are some key learnings. And now it's in writing. This also means they can go and they can share it with other people on the leadership team. They can forward it out. And in fact, it makes them look good. makes them look like they're doing their job because they can kind of show everyone else that their team really knows what's going on. So, and especially if you throw in an insightful question in there that they would want to answer or someone else would want to answer, right? So always have those 3 initiatives, those 3 key results at the tip of my fingers. I'm always recording them, and I'm always making sure that I share that with my manager on a regular basis. Great questions. Do we have access to the trackers? Yes. Let me drop those into the platform. Oh, and then, yeah, we are kicking off another cohort of Job Search Bootcamp, which really is where we master the art of networking, interviewing, and negotiating. So if you're saying, I already have a job, but this process looks interesting, how do I quickly build a relationship using my key results? Join us for Job Search Bootcamp. In fact, most people in the program wind up getting some big achievement in their career, whether it's a raise or promotion or a new job. But yeah, a lot of people actually just get raises and promotions. So I shared that in the chat as well. The recorder impacts, we can forget that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, did we have any other questions that I missed, Michelle? Anyone else?
We had one last one from Avi Carr. Avi, do you want to come up on stage? Her question is that she's heard that elevator pitches should be interesting and not like restating your resume. So how important is it to add a personal touch in addition to the key metric?
Yeah, it depends on the purpose of the elevator pitch. Your elevator pitch, for example, when you start a new job or already have a job, might be a little bit different. My elevator pitch at the very beginning of this presentation, when I told you all that I had been in tech and I pivoted into product management, was a little bit different from the one that I demonstrated later on. That is my 30-second pitch that I might give if I were looking for a role. So I would think about the purpose of it. Is it a networking call to land a new job? Is it an interview? Or do you already have a job and you're building relationships in another environment? It's also true if you're like doing your elevator pitch because you got a new job and you're like, you know, at the first all hands meeting, you definitely want to throw in that personal, you know, oh, and come talk to me about all the best taquerias in San Francisco, you know, throw that in afterwards. So it's a mix of personality and the one thing to qualify yourself, but you'll never go wrong if you qualify yourself. That 15 seconds about, you know, not necessarily the full story, but yeah, you know, and I recently expanded a program to 50% of the community. They can come back and ask questions about it. I say research the person that you're talking to is one of the most important things, and reflect back. I just answered your question like 5 different times. Maybe some clarity. Any other questions?
That's all the questions I see in the chat or the Q&A. If anyone else has a question that they want to ask, feel free to come up on stage. We've got another minute or two.
Oh, that's right. We're getting to the end. Lots of other fun sessions to go to. Okay. Great.
I think you've answered all the burning questions.
I love it. Well, my favorite thing is just making sure that we're all constantly aware that we're advocating for ourselves in our career. And to do that, we're tracking our achievements and we're using them to build relationships. And then when we ask people for things, we're reflecting back what's important to them and we're still qualifying ourselves with that key result, right? Okay, this is amazing. So good to meet all of you and looking forward to hearing from you. Definitely stay in touch. Yeah, and enjoy the rest of the conference. What an amazing conference Women in Practice put on. I absolutely love this community.
Thank you, Malinda.
Thank you. All right. Bye, everyone. Good meeting you all. Thanks, Michelle. And Michelle, I'll just stay on a moment to check in with you, make sure that you got all that. Where can we find the links again?
If you scroll down below the video, there are links to the slides and to the resource guides. And then I'll drop thanks, Malinda. Malinda has dropped the spreadsheets again
Yeah,
in the chat.
and I'll drop the bootcamp one more time. Okay, great. And then also, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm in Women in Product Facebook group. So if you have questions about the guides or how to use them, feel free to get in touch, of course.
That Women in Product Facebook group, I worked in product for like 10 years before I found that group, and it has just been life-changing. Like going from feeling like you're the only person with the struggles, or you got your two colleagues and you're trying to figure it out yourself, to having access to tens of thousands of similarly minded, supportive, smart women. It's fantastic.
No, I know. I feel like it changed everything for me. I also didn't discover it until about 3 years ago when I was co-founding my last company, and just wow, yeah. It's certainly one of the most interactive and supportive communities that I found. Yeah, and what are you said right now, Michelle, that you're working as a fractional executive in product?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh.
Yeah. I've had so many experiences in my career where I have, built out teams or helped companies adopt better agile processes or continuous discovery, or really helped companies scale from that like startup all hands on deck to now we actually have to have like role definitions and a little bit of process to work with each other. So I did that in my work, and I have found that there's a lot of early companies who are hungry for that kind of experience. So I've felt really good about being able to, instead of just working for one company and helping one company, I can do that with a number of companies all at once.
Amazing. Okay.
Super fun.
Yeah. Especially, I would love to follow up with you and talk about the team building aspect. LessonsUp is actually a team building platform to help people hire top performers. Knows about, or people from non-traditional backgrounds. And one of our fun challenges in product is that, I mentioned that there's like 100 people who have pivoted. It was 120 new jobs, but maybe like 100 particularly interesting career pivots. And so how do you convince a hiring manager that, someone who's been in project management, say in a completely non-tech field, could actually be a good associate product manager, right? And we have evidence because we have so many case studies in our community, and we're productizing that right now to overcome bias. So yeah, I love the team building aspect you mentioned.
It's the work that you're doing there to help folks transition into product management dovetails really nicely with with this kind of company starting to adopt an associate product manager rotational role or an apprenticeship, going beyond just offering internships to new graduates, but really structuring a 1 or 2 year program for people who are new in the role so that they really understand and learn the skills and have the emotional support, right? Like that imposter syndrome and the confidence and getting comfortable with failure are typically things that like you don't overcome through a class. You have to have that experience and work through it. And I love that companies are realizing that they can have much more success with their early in the product career employees if they provide that support internally.
Oh my gosh. Yes. That's amazing. If people can be out there convincing companies that they need to have programs like that.
Right.
Yes.
It's all we need. Yeah, that on-ramp.
Yes. Okay, well, I don't know, are we closing up the room? I wanted to stay on in case there was anything last minute. I'm not sure how this works.
Yeah, I mean, I think we just leave. I don't know. We've still got like 15, 12 folks with us. Hi, everybody.
Yeah. So we just concluded our session on relationship building. We talked about a little bit how it applies to job search and moving forward in your career. But I guess I'll stay on, well, one more minute. If anyone thoughts on talking to VPs about career growth?
Yeah, yeah.
I guess it would depend on what your role is in the organization and understanding where you're trying to go next in your career, and then understanding what's important to that VP and building an ask that shows that. So, if I were talking to Michelle and I wanted her help with something and I specifically wanted to get promoted, like, Michelle, I know that you work with companies and you're specifically interested in team building. I'm actually looking to make this change in my career. I would love to get your thoughts on, the next steps. And then I qualify myself. And I recently did this thing, share my key results.